Radio V. Radio in TV. Radio in TV.
Oh, man.
All right, TradioV Inside Metal Show. You recognize that? I know you had the headphones here. The original drummer for Bathory.
Thank you.
And the director extraordinaire, Mr. Jonas Akerlund, joins me on the TradioV Inside Metal Show. That, of course, is from the 1984, what was it? It was a compilation, right? Scandinavian Metal.
Yeah. Scandinavian Metal Attack.
That's Scandinavian Metal Attack, and that was the debut of Bathory.
Yeah, for sure.
And you were their original drummer.
It was the beginning and the end for me.
Yes, and it was the beginning of the whole black metal, death metal of Sweden. The originators, right there, man.
Right there. Right there.
Great stuff. So, of course, Jonas Akerlund, who many of you may know, big director of music videos, film, commercials, and a total hardcore metalhead. And I will vouch for that. We've seen many shows together. He even got me a Bathory shirt. Check this out, man. Is that cool or what? Almost as cool as my Legend shirt. Classic new wave of British heavy metal band here.
Nice.
But and he also brought me one of my favorite books that I always read when I'm at my buddy Toby's house, our buddy Toby, Poster, which was a classic magazine from the 70s back in Sweden.
Yeah, it started in the 70s.
It was like the equivalent to Cream and Circus, kind of a little bit of a Tiger Beat.
You could fold it out and put the posters on your wall.
Yes, yeah. Great.
That was my channel to the world.
Ah, love it, dude.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That is killer. So we got a lot to talk about, man. You got a new movie coming out. You've got lots of stuff. But let's go old school, back to Bathory, man. You started. Now, really, that, as I said, you had, of course, Venom, who came out, the originators of black metal, the new wave of British heavy metal. And then you had Merciful Fate and Hellhammer coming out of, Switzerland, and, of course, Destruction and Sodom. And Bathory were the original death metal band from Sweden. You had Candlemass, your doom metal bands, and then all the rest were more melodic metal. Sweden was always known for being a very melodic metal. Loved the Swedish bands. As you know, I'm a big fan of all the Swedish bands.
You know more about Swedish bands than I do, man.
Well, I don't know about that, but being in Bathory in the beginning, and seeing because now it's funny, because now Sweden has become, Sweden and Norway, of course, the capital of death metal and black metal.
Right.
Everything, and it was really originated. You guys were the originators, and you only were on the first track that we just played there.
Well, we started a band. We had a band, me and my cousin, actually, and we were looking for a guitarist, and we met. His name was Ace, and eventually his name became Quarton.
Right.
And between the three of us, we were so kind of like different in taste. We wanted to play fast, but we liked Sabbath, and we liked Motorhead, and we liked Uriah Heep, and we were all over the place. And with Ace guitar playing, we kind of created this new thing. For us, it was new. We didn't know much about it. And then eventually Venom came around, where we actually stole our name.
As to say, Countess Bathory.
Yeah, and originally...
But he doesn't admit to that, does he?
No, he's dead now, so it doesn't matter. But the name was... our original name was Countess Bathory.
Right.
And then because we thought it was too close to the song title, we took the Countess out of it and just called it Bathory. I still have... some handwritten logos, which is the same logo that's on that T-shirt of yours, but it says Countess Bathory. So,
awesome.
And and then it was great. Me and my cousin, we never played with a musician like that. He was just awesome. He could play guitar, and he was great. We had singers for a while before he decided to sing.
Well, he kind of became a one-man band after that, in a way.
Yeah, because right after that, I slowly started to discover filmmaking and film editing, and I moved away from just being a drummer,
Right.
I kept in contact with Ace for years.
And we're going to get all into that. You shortly after you moved to the UK, right? Or did you still spend some time in Sweden before moving? When did you move to the UK?
I was on and off there already in early 80s, but I didn't move there until like 83, 84.
Right.
So we had Bathory at the same time, and I was kind of like going back and forth.
Right. And you got into filmmaking. Was it the Candlemass? Was one of your first videos?
Well,
right?
I worked actually when I did the army. Like you have to do
that's like
military
a requirement. Once you get to 18 in Sweden, you have to.
You got to do it,
Yeah.
and I did it, and I was lucky because I ended up in this department where they did film and
Right.
photography, and that's where I discovered editing. So right after the military service, instead of going back to London thinking that I was going to be a musician, I decided to try to work with film, and I was lucky. I ended up in a production company that was really early. For Sweden, for Swedish standards, we were early with doing music videos and commercials, and I ended up in the edit room, and I spent 10 years in the edit room before I became like a director.
Well, that's a great way to learn, man. Work your way up, and especially editing. That's a.
But I kept in touch with all my friends, and then eventually music videos became the thing to do, and I would say that my first music video was with Candlemass,
And we're going to play. In fact, you have that video, right? The Candlemass video. Why don't we go play it a little bit? Jonas Akerlund. This is what started out his video career right here. Grace, I love the band Candlemass. Leif, what a great guy. I met him in Sweden.
I'm going to send you a picture of me and Leif and Fredrik, the bass player of Bathory.
All right, there you go. The very first video from Mr. Jonas Akerlund. And of course, that launched his career into producing, or directing, I should say, videos from Madonna, Rihanna, Jay-Z and Beyonce, and U2, Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones. I could go on and on and on forever. I mean, you've done just about every major pop artist. There's Rammstein, of course. And we'll talk about the upcoming Rammstein movie. But I mean, in the beginning of doing the production, and I guess what really launched you started with Roxette, right, into the kind of the pop market.
Well, what happened was that I discovered early on that doing music videos is a lot of work, and usually there was no place for the videos to be seen really. So I decided early on that this is just a waste of time unless there's an audience out there. And the only band at that time that had an international audience was Roxette. So I was lucky enough to start to work with them, and that kind of launched me in the world when people could see outside Sweden, what I did. So, and I worked with them. I ended up working with them for many years. Most of my relationships are very long. I work for years with same artists back to back.
Which is great, man, because a lot of, people always switch. But I know, like, the last several, videos from, whether it's pop people like Madonna or Beyonce or, of course, we've done a couple of Metallica videos,
Yeah, and Ozzy. I worked with Ozzy a lot.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And so what got you here in the States? I know one of the big videos, you did the Prodigy video for Smack My Bitch Up. And that became a real huge video for you. And talk about that a bit, because you said originally the band, hey, I mean, because your videos are very controversial, and it's funny because there's other directors that like Chris Cunningham, a fantastic director who did like Apex Twin and stuff, but he's remained very underground. But you were able to cross over into the pop
became
market,
mainstream.
But your videos were still always just as hardcore. And of course the that Prodigy video, I don't know if you've seen the Smack My Bitch Up video, but that got banned everywhere.
Right.
And but still, that gave you your name, especially here in the States.
Yeah, no, it really made a big change in my life, and through that I met Madonna, so that kind of like everything just happened within that year. It was like 97, I think.
Right.
So it's like it all happened at once, and this is pre-internet, right. and the video was banned on MTV and everywhere, but somehow people managed to see it, and it just got out there, and everybody back then had a story when they saw it. So when I came here, and right around that time, it was also very, like in Hollywood, it was like a good thing to be a music video director. You could basically steal a job from Steven Spielberg if you were a music video director back then. You know, that was the thing to be.
Well, dude, it's interesting because you came into, just as the market and just as the music kind of started to change. But if you came in during the 80s and had that concept, because, I keep thinking about this, because the 80s videos, what they call the hair metal bands of the 80s were so damn cheesy. I mean, some of the, Marty Baldwin and Wayne Isham and all those, the same girl in every video. And, they started out kind of cool with a sense of humor. Then it just started being the same video, the same choreographed moves, the same, women in the video and this and that. But, it really changed after, like the 90s with the grunge and everything like that. Right. It became much more. If you came out in the 80s and did, and I think that has a lot to do with the longevity of some of these bands. The bands that lasted were the bands like Metallica that didn't do a video until the one video, and they totally broke the ground there. Iron Maiden always did live videos from the beginning with Paul Di'Anno. Right. And it was, they never got into that. And those are the bands that really, but I think if you were able to come in during that time and do some killer videos without the same, I think so much more of those bands would have had longevity, because video was such a huge thing back then.
I agree.
It was so huge.
I know, and on top of that, we had MTV, who basically controlled the creativity in music videos.
Well, that's the thing too, because a lot of the labels would set these bands. And a lot of the bands you talked to, they said, hey, I hated the video. I didn't want to make the video, but the label and the management, and this is the way to go. You got to use this guy because, it was that formulated thing. And they just kind of did what was safe. No one was really taking risks until, people like you were coming along.
Well, I always consider myself, even though I work with a lot of big artists, I always consider myself the guy to go to if you want to do something a little bit out of the ordinary.
Right.
Even with big artists like Beyonce or, some of these bigger names that I work with, it's like there's no point to come to me if you want to make the same kind of stuff you always do. Or my job is always to kind of like take them a little bit out of their comfort zone and do something a little bit different.
Right.
That's how I always seen myself.
Well, dude, all your videos are like that. Let's, could we, Jake, do you have the reel set up? Could we do a few minutes? You got, all right, let's play the reel there. The Jonas Akerlund video reel. There we go.
You've been a very bad girl.
He's the fucking cook, okay? He makes the shit. He's my brother!
Ross? Are you by yourself? Nikki? Nikki, this is Ross. Ross, this is Nikki.
She got a nice looking body, doesn't she? Did you touch her?
I know if I'm haunting you, you must be haunting me.
How do you say, I'm going to tell you a secret?
Je vais te dire un secret.
I can raise my daughter just as good as anybody else can.
My name's Simon LeBron, and I'm the front man for Duran Duran.
What can I say? He's a fucking whack job.
Really? How so?
My name is Franklin.
Good morning, Mr. Ross.
That horn is a fucking menace, don't you get it?
Sit right down and write myself a letter.
There's my cue. Excuse me.
How's that feel?
What do you think?
Are you going to catch the person that did this?
I'm going to try.
Alex! Alex, answer me! It's gonna be all right.
I'm bleeding. I'm bleeding.
No, you're not. Yes, I am.
Dynamite with a laser beam, guaranteed to blow you.
So don't you bring me down. Would you hold it against me? And just like you, I can't be scared. I'm your biggest fan. I'll follow you until you love me. Paparazzi.
Everything's gonna be wonderful.
All right. There you go, man. There's the work. For those that aren't familiar with Jonas Akerlund, that is the work of the great Jonas Akerlund, and a true hardcore metalhead at heart. Always was since 1983. We're going to get into everything you did back in the in England and everything, and all the killer shows. We've been to many shows together, and always have a great time and hanging out. But I think right now we'll go for a little break, and we'll come back with Jonas Akerlund in 2 minutes. Inside Metal Show on TradioV.
Beyond Slayer, Metallica, and Dark Angel.
That is so thrash. That is so over the top. The most extreme music I'd ever heard.
We were all hanging out together. We were all united around the belief in this music, and it brought us together.
San Francisco gets talked about all the time, but LA had a fierce metal scene.
But man, we had to fight the good fight against most of what LA stood for.
LA did not get the credit. It was stolen from San Francisco. They took all the credit. All these bands started emerging who were following in the footsteps of the new wave of British heavy metal.
And it was just blood. It was just brutal blood, man. Just fights, and just there was no control. There was no control.
The danger was part of the excitement.
Kidnap a poser and set him on fire, and tie him to a chair, and beat him up. I watched them do stuff like that.
And I've got the biggest band in San Francisco opening for you. We're like, Y&T? He's like, no, Metallica. I'm like, who?
Good grief, you know, Metallica's much bigger than Diamond it ever were.
So we got a copy of No Life to Live, put it on, it was like...
Metallica was the first time I heard the punk element plus the new wave of British heavy metal put together. I'm like, this is it. I loved it.
Said, well, we're going to headline LA. That's our hometown, so we're going to headline, and Metallica go on before us. Well, that was a big mistake, because then they came on and just destroyed us.
We went on right before Metallica, and there's still like that thread. There's no way we're going to blow away Metallica or anything, but I mean, we're going to fucking try.
Probably
opened for Queensryche. People really had no idea who we were. And this is a big arena, and I remember looking at an audience and people having this look of terror.
And the whole place was, the ceiling was sweating.
That's rock star shit. Get up fucking roadies, you know.
You got all the metal guys on one side of the parking lot, and you got all the punkers on the other side, and the animosity's already started. It was just crazy. It was youth. You know, it was youth.
All right, Inside Metal Show, TradioV, with the one and only Mr. Jonas Akerlund. And we just saw the trailer for our third movie that's going to be coming out, the Inside Metal, Rise of LA Thrash Metal.
It looks good.
Yeah.
It looks good.
Yeah, and Jonas, thank you so much. You came out to all the screenings that we did in LA.
Of course.
And, he came out for the first one, the Pioneers of LA Hard Rock and Metal. And what was your thoughts on the LA metal scene? Of course, not really coming to LA till like the late 80s, early 90s and seeing that era.
Unfortunately, I missed that part that your first movie is about, which in my point of view was like the best part of it.
I agree.
And I was so much in London during this time, you know, and for me, you know, I was hanging at the Marquee Club, you know, all the Samson and
see, that's the shit I missed growing up in LA.
Diamond Head and you know, Marillion and Maiden and all those things was just like, that's where I grew up, and that's my, you know, that's my kind of music still up till this day. You know?
See, it's funny because so many people in England and other places go, God, I wish I was in LA. But when I was growing up, and you know, 16, 17, 18, and seeing, you know, the first Maiden videos with Paul Di'Anno and Live at the Rainbow, and it's like, and I hear about the Marquee with Angel Witch and Samson and all these killer bands playing. It's like that's what I wanted to be, because I was so into the new wave of British heavy metal. And of course, you know, LA was a little bit more glamour. I still loved a lot of the bands. I mean, I grew up in Orange County, which was a little bit heavier. I got to see the very first show of Metallica, the very first shows of Slayer. I saw them as a cover band. So you always look at what you don't have and think, God, I wish, but it still would have been great to see Maiden.
But I have to say though, looking back, I'm happy that I was in England during this time.
Totally.
You know, like in retrospect, it's like I was in the right place. You know?
It was so fun because I had all these pen pals in England and all over Europe, and I would send them all these demos from LA and photos from LA, and they would send me all this stuff from you know, and these are guys that were, you know, Metal Forces and Kerrang and all, and Aardschok in Holland, and it's like, oh man, that looks so cool, because it was, you know, that was where the true headbanging and all that stuff was. And LA, it was still kind of, you know, a little bit, you know, still coming from the whole Van Halen thing. It didn't quite catch the British metals until probably the
like the
mid-80s.
first two or three first Van Halen albums a lot though. Even back then, you know, that was great.
I mean, there were some great bands, and that's basically what the documentary series is exposing, some of the great bands. And you know, even after that era that we have in the Pioneers of LA Hard Rock and Metal, bands like Snow, Smile, A La Carte, you know, Greg Leon, and all these bands that, you know, many people haven't heard of back from that day. But you know, this second one is going to be the Rise of LA. I'm sorry, it's going to be called LA Metal Scene Explodes. Is the second one, and that's going to go from like Wasp and Rat and all that kind of era, and Malice and Bitch and you know, Armored Saint and Warrior, and so a lot of bands that really never got their due until it was just when MTV was kind of breaking. They didn't really catch on the heavy metal bandwagon. You know, a couple bands like the Motleys and the Rats and stuff, but you know, Black and Blue, Leatherwolf, Racer X, Eden, all those bands. You know, we try to cover a lot of it. Yeah, a lot of the underground bands that never.
I like
really
the idea though. I like what you're doing, because you're taking like those guys that was like just a little bit too ahead of their times.
Right.
You know, and I see that in all kind of creativity. You know, there's always that band that's a little bit. You know, I'm friends with the Hano Rocks guys. You know, they were like totally ahead of their times. You know,
well, they were the first. I mean, all those bands. You know, Motley's, Guns N' Roses. They were all inspired by them. Yeah. I mean, they liked, you know, Sweet and the '70s bands and stuff too. But I mean, Hanoi Rocks really took the glam thing to that L.A. glam level, but they never got the credit for it.
Right.
Michael Monroe.
Right.
Absolutely. But so many bands, so many Swedish bands, Torch, and one of my favorites, back in the day, Silver Mountain, and even EF Band and Heavy Load and all those bands, it was cool.
That's where I grew up with. But for me, it was even when I lived in Sweden, it was a lot of, besides Alice Cooper, most of the stuff that I listened to back then was English music. It was a lot of Sweet, a lot of Slade. That era.
Dude, speaking of Sweet, this is something I want to bring up and post, and I don't even know where it is. And this is the thing that's crazy about in Sweden, which you would never get away with here. And I don't know if I could even show it because it is full frontal nudity. But you know the picture I'm talking about, Mick Tucker, from Sweet, on a couch, completely naked, sprawled with his balls and cock hanging out.
Yeah.
And this is in the 70s. This was 12, 13 years old was kind of the age group of the people that would read
the most, or younger, I would say.
In the States, I could not picture, if I saw, like Aerosmith was kind of the equivalent to what Sweet was in Europe, Aerosmith was here in the States. If I open a Circus or a Cream magazine and saw Steven Tyler on a couch, with his balls and dick hanging, I couldn't listen to Aerosmith. It's like every time I'd hear Lord of the Thighs, I would cringe. It's crazy how they.
We got a different level of shock in Scandinavia than the rest of the world.
But you would think at some point, either management or label or someone would say, this might not be such a good idea.
I don't think anybody control those guys.
Well, Sweet, we're way ahead of their time, and just such a great. They were actually big here in the 70s. They had a lot of hits.
Really?
Ballroom Blitz.
Ballroom Blitz, of course.
They were big radio. Fox on the Run was a big hit. And of course, Love is Like Oxygen was a huge hit. That was a little later and a little bit more mellow.
Right.
Action was a big radio hit. And even early 70s, Little Willie. But they never toured here. It was like Thin Lizzy. They always had problems. They always
I bet you they wouldn't be allowed into the country or something like that.
Something crazy. And you know what happened is Queen kind of came in and took their thunder, because Queen came in and very similar, the harmonies and everything, Sweet were way ahead of their time and such a great band, but they never, same thing with bands like Thin Lizzy. They always had obstacles when they came out, Brian Robertson broke his hand or this and that, so they had to cancel. And, another band like Status Quo, huge all over Europe.
Yeah.
Nobody
I love
knows
Status Quo. I mean, I still do.
Yeah.
And Rainbow, Status Quo, all these bands, they toured so much. Every year they came, new album, and a tour every year. So, we saw them every year. Thin Lizzy, I saw them every year. They came every year.
That's awesome. See, Thin Lizzy, I think they came here, I think they opened for Journey on the Evolution tour in 81. That was with Gary Moore. And then that was it. That was the last, they got into fist fighting, and I missed that show.
Right.
And that was it until, I think until John Sykes' version.
Yeah, I saw that
too.
States. Yeah, I saw all the versions of this.
Going into another break here. All right. Some Overdrive. We're playing all Swedish metal bands here on this. You remember Overdrive? Janne Stark. He wrote a couple encyclopedias of metal, Swedish metal. Yeah. We'll be back with Mr. Jonas Akerlund on the Inside Metal Show, TradioV.
We had such a great metal scene in LA in the early 80s. It really was an amazing time to be here.
You go up to Sunset Boulevard and it was just packed. It was like Mardi Gras, heavy metal Mardi Gras.
Our dressing room at the Roxy after we played. I'm looking around and there's Vince Neil passed out in the corner in a pile of his own puke. Yep, we're in Hollywood. We ain't in Alaska anymore.
The epicenter of metal is now happening in Los Angeles.
The UK press was particularly excited by what was going on in the LA and California, and in America in general by the early 80s, because new wave of British heavy metal pretty much ran out of steam.
At that time, there was so much good metal. It was so good because it was so genuine.
mean, you could feel it. It was electric. The air was filled with something that was going to happen.
At first, everybody friendly and hanging out and all fun and games. Then it became competition.
The LA scene was so crowded with musicians, and everybody was getting to know each other. They all started sounding similar to each other because they were hanging out at each other's rehearsal sessions.
Things kind of got polarized, and they're like, you're either part of this group or you're part of that group.
Everybody had their own take on this new form of music.
I don't know what I'm going to do. There's no way if that guy is the new guitar hero that any of us can keep up.
Keep fighting. It's just like getting a deal was just the beginning.
By the time of the early 80s, it was very, very hard to get shows if you were a heavy metal band or hard rock band.
We did some shows over that summer, opening for Armored Saint, and we felt that if we could kind of ride their coattails, maybe there would be hope.
We were in the dressing room next to them, and we heard them discussing their whole thing about they thought they were too heavy for LA and they need to move to San Francisco.
We definitely had a bit of a kind of an identity issue at the time with just not belonging anywhere. We were just outcasts.
We were all on the verge of being homeless.
The music is the music of the wild and the young.
Right, Inside Metal Show, TradioV, a little Torch, classic
Torch.
Swedish
That's
band.
good.
Yes, of course, to start in with this. And that, of course, was the trailer to the next movie coming out, the LA Metal Scene Explodes, which will be hopefully coming out soon. It's been in the editor's hands for a couple of months. We've had a little
no pressure, poor editor.
But yeah, I know. Come on, Rico, get this thing done. We're gonna have it done real soon, so you'll all be hearing about it. But we got the former roadie for Heavy Load on the phone. Can you believe
really?
that? Heavy Load's former roadie, Toby Ordbad. You better turn. Yeah, you better get those headphones on.
What's up?
Hold on. Wait till he gets his headphones on.
I'm here.
All right. What's going on? I'm sure you're going to correct me on the stuff we were talking about. Sweet, right?
Or we can just switch to Swedish. And so, då fattar inte du ett skit av vad du säger.
Oh, there you go. Talk Swedish. I only know the bad
själv.
Swedish words, as you know. So, Tobe, are you watching at home? No, you can't be, of course, because this is a pre-record show.
You're talking about Swedes. Come on, let's talk about Swedes.
All right.
I'm all about that.
Talk about it.
Why are you not here? You should have been here.
I should have been there. I can't, though.
All right.
Hanging with the kids right now.
All right. That's good, too.
Yes.
That's good.
So talk about the days with Heavy Load.
Let's just talk about the early 80s in metal.
Well, that's what we're here to talk. Do you see the gift he got me? Poster, the book. I every time I stay at Toby's book, I always rate his book. Oh, we were talking about the picture of Mick Tucker naked, sprawled up across the sofa, and how this was in a teen magazine back in the 70s, which is crazy.
And the funny thing is that he got the publisher. He talked Mick into doing it, so they took the photo, and then after they, like the next day, Mick goes, "Oh fuck, maybe that's not a great idea." So he called him up and said, "You're not going to publish this, are you?" And he's like, "Oh, dude, it's already being printed." So that was a poster, a full-size poster. Him lying there, buck naked, with dick just hanging out.
And tell us the truth, Toby. You had that poster on your wall, didn't you? You're that big of a Sweet fan that you would have a naked picture.
We all did. But the rumor is that it was taken right before the show, like literally like a minute before they played Gröna Lund in Stockholm, which is this family park. It's like an outdoor family park.
But don't you guys think that, Jake? Don't you think that's weird? I mean, look, you're a Metallica fan, right? If you opened up a magazine and you saw Lars Ulrich sprawled on the couch with his dick and balls hanging out, wouldn't you like take a back and think a little?
I would think it was a little bit weird, but
it?
we have like the American point of view on things, so maybe like
I guess Sweden is that liberal.
Actually, I'm naked now under here. You can't see, but
is this
I am.
the rainbow? Do you have some girls pleasuring you under the table there, Jonas?
No, I missed that era. I missed that.
That's only the latest of the Lemnis merchandise that's pleasuring you right now, right?
Yes.
The one you sent us a photo of earlier today?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one. That one.
Very cool. So what do you have to say, Tobey? I know you got a lot to talk about. What do you have to say to Jonas? Come on, you're on the air.
It wasn't that weird. It wasn't that weird. It was just a naked guy who was one of my favorite drummers of all time in one of my favorite bands of all time.
But I think it's a little weird that you would have that on your wall, though. Any naked man on your wall.
Hey, remember Thomas, my buddy Thomas? He had it on the wall.
Yeah.
He just put a star over the dick. He cut out a star and put it over there.
Let's highlight it.
Well, dude, Sweden were awesome. I mean, great band, and that explains because I couldn't see any management or label like saying this is a great idea. Pose nude in a teen magazine, but. Yeah, crazy stuff.
I had a Kiss poster from the same magazine on the wall, though. Jonas, you remember that one with a naked chick on it?
Of course.
With a guy.
See, that's different. A naked chick.
Spreading her legs, she's buck naked, and I had that poster on the wall when I was, 10 years old.
But even us, we didn't see that till like Kerrang and stuff came out. We never had any nudity. The only nudity I saw as a kid was, you remember the Humble Pie Thunderbox album?
No.
It was like a keyhole. The album cover. Look that up real quick on the.
What about Virgin Killers?
Look at, he's already looking up. Yeah, but that was. the
original cover.
Yeah, the 14-year-old or something. It didn't.
She was like 12.
Oh yeah.
And they're Germans. They're even more hardcore than the Swedes.
Well, I was just gonna say that's Germany, but the Humble Pie album. I think Jake's already gonna look it up. There was like a keyhole, and you open up the album, and you could see this chick. And that was the first time I saw a naked woman, because we would go to the record store just to open up and this was like, I was, 10, 11 years old, and we'd go to the record store and open it up. And that was actually the first. There we go.
That was the first time you saw a naked woman?
Well, no, you know what? I probably saw Hustler and stuff, but this is the first shaved vagina I saw. Go to the inside sleeve, Jake. It's all right. It's okay to show on.
Why are you so excited, Bob?
You don't remember?
Take it easy.
I can't believe you don't remember. We used to ride our bikes to the department store just to go see this. There you go. That was it. You don't remember? This was like 1974. And that's kind of odd, because you never saw, in Hustler and all that, you always saw the big bushes. This was the 70s.
Right.
And how the hell we get on this topic, Jake? You're the producer. You're supposed to direct us. Every time, and we haven't even had a few beers. Wait till you see us with Toby, and a great time with Andreas the other day. You want to talk about the Paul Stanley show you guys saw?
Yeah, we saw
Toby's
his. Toby, you should have come with us. We ended up with Paul at the Rainbow. Paul,
really wish.
Paul hadn't been at the Rainbow since the 70s, and we ended up having a dinner with him afterwards. And the show was great. It was really good.
But you said it was all soul, right?
It's all soul, and he did like Motown songs and all that. Very different from any Paul I ever seen. Wow. But it was good. It was good.
Very cool.
Great band.
It sounds good.
And you know what's cool? I got to say, I got to interrupt and saying what's so cool is all you guys, the Swedish pop dudes, and I'm talking about you, of course, Andreas, Max Martin, and our friend Paul, who all are working on mainstream pop and stuff, all grew up as metalheads.
Right.
I mean, I remember Paul. He used to rehearse at my studio. He was in the band Sad Wings. Old
of course.
Band. Remember them from way back in the day? Now he's one of the biggest.
The best thing is no one's changed. Everyone is still a metalhead.
And Max Martin, he was like, what? It's Alive. Was that his band?
Yeah. He was a singer.
Yeah.
He's a great singer.
Yeah.
And he's one of the biggest pop producers, and you're one of the biggest video directors, and of course Andreas.
Yeah.
Huge songwriter, does all the big pop hits, and we went out and all we do is talk about metal. I think that's awesome, man.
Yeah, we should do it more. It's
absolutely
great. I love that.
We should do it more.
Very cool. I think we got some old, but we got a minute before we go into a break, right? We got some old pictures. Let's show some Jonas Akerlund pictures. Stay on the phone here, Tobey.
All right.
There you go, with Keith Richards.
Nice.
Now, dude, how is that working with the Stones or Paul McCartney? I mean, that's got to be weird, because you got to be in awe. I mean, it's not like you're doing some pop singer. This is like, Keith Richards, Mick Jagger, Paul McCartney, he was a Beatle. I mean, how do you tell them, say if they do something wrong, how do you tell them, dude, you're fucking up. You got Sir Paul McCartney, you're completely fucking this up. You can't. I mean, you can't. I mean, how do you do that? How do you direct these
I
guys?
kind of switch in my head and try to stay focused on the reason why I'm there, just focus on that. But it's sometimes I think about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Like, did I really say that to Paul? But, I try to stay professional. And I think that's actually one of the reasons that, I still do it, because I always keep it professional. Yeah.
Absolutely. We got a couple other photos there. The Rammstein.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's in my home in Stockholm.
And let's talk about the new concert DVD you're doing on Rammstein, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
Favorite of the newer bands, I should say.
Yeah.
And
Great.
I love them. And one thing I got to say about the mainline video that you did.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about Jonas Akerlund, because you take a band and talk about taking risks, not just you, but the band. Here's a band that does this ultra heavy, dark, industrial music. And if you seen their Du Hast videos and their Engel, it's all dark. And here you tell the band, you present to them to do we have the mainline, how do you say it? Mainline?
Mainland, yeah.
Mainland video. Do you have that? Play a little bit of that. How do you convince a hardcore German band to do... it's classic, man. It just shows their great sense of humor and that they're able to take risks.
Right.
They're not afraid to do something completely off the wall. Classic. I love it. This is one of my favorite videos of yours.
Yeah, well, Rammstein is great, though.
Yeah.
Creatively, they're the fun guys to work with.
Did they agree to do this with you? Or
Yeah,
how did
no,
you
of
present it?
course,
Yeah.
always. I always
Yeah.
present in
Right.
advance what we're going to do. The good things with Rammstein is that they love become characters and become,
Well, they do have a great sense of humor at their live shows.
Plus, they have a sense of humor. But they're at the same time they're super serious and probably one of the most professional bands I work with.
Best live show ever.
Yeah, they're the best. I love Rammstein. To me, they've given me so much because they opened my mind into stuff that I didn't even think I could do. So I love working with
I
those
keep
guys.
trying to drag Toby out to one of their shows. We all got to hit their next show.
Absolutely.
We got a couple other photos there, Jake, before we... there's the man, Ozzy. And you did this, was it the Scream video you did with Ozzy?
Yeah, I've done a few.
Yeah.
I've done a few, and for me, that's the one time I may lose it a little bit because, Sabbath is my, that's
All
where
of
I
us,
come
yeah.
from, and that's like, still my favorite band. It's like, to me, it's always been all about Sabbath, So
How was that working with Ozzy?
Yeah, no, he's great. He's the
Yeah.
best, He's same thing, super professional and really good, and, he's doing his thing, and he's got the history, so... but that's the one time I kind of lose it a little bit, where I get a little starstruck. It's with Ozzy.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah.
We got a couple others there. The man, Rob Howell. Are you still with us, Toby? Huh?
Yeah, always. I'm
yeah,
listening.
he's still there. Cool. So that was during the movie, and we're going to get into your movies. That was Spun, right?
Yeah.
He was in the...
That was my first movie, Spun.
90...
I want to say 99. 98.
Mickey Rourke and...
Mickey Rourke and Jason Schwartzman and Brittany Murphy, Mina Savari.
That's right.
It was a great cast.
Yeah.
And I had this one scene in a porn store where Mickey Rourke's character come in, and there's this guy behind the counter, and there's a little dialogue and there's a little fight, and he pushed him around. And I really wanted an interesting cameo. So I said, I want Rob Halford. I was like, thinking that there's no way I'm going to get Rob Halford. Literally the day after, the door ring, my door right here in Hollywood, and there's Rob. He lives in San Diego. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And he drove up on the day to meet me because he really wanted to do the role. And
He's a big fan of yours. We met him, Toby and I met him at your Grammy party this last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
He was saying what a huge fan.
Yeah,
Which has
well,
got to be awesome to hear
yeah.
Rob Halford and all these guys saying how much they...
Yeah, no, Rob is great. And, I think, he's been an actor all his life. He's
Yeah.
a great actor.
He was in 8mm too. He played a similar
Yeah, but
role.
also in his life, he's been
Absolutely.
acting and pretending to be somewhere else. And, he's a fucking brave guy, coming out of the closet and becoming who he is today and still being strong. And
I love Rob, man. One of the greatest vocals, not just in metal, in rock and roll.
yeah, no, he's the
Unbelievable.
best. He's the best.
Absolutely. We got... Oh, there you go with Iggy Pop. You did one of Iggy Pop, or a couple of Iggy Pop.
Yeah, I've
videos,
worked
right?
with Iggy for many, many years. And I worked with Debbie too, and that was a rare opportunity to be
Oh, is
with
that
them
Deborah
together.
Harry?
Yeah, it was Deborah Harry.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow, Blondie. I know
Yeah.
Toby's a big Blondie fan.
Yeah, that was I did a photo session with them last year actually. That picture's from last year.
Right on.
Yeah, I know. And Iggy's great.
Now we're gonna determine who is the most metal back in the day. Back in the early 80s when you were a teenager in Sweden, or when I was a teenager in Orange County. You got that folder, the Bob? There we go. Now that's a recent picture, but look at that. That just shows Jonas is pure metal. The Venom. I love that. Except there's Jonas. How old were you there?
Well, it's my first car, so I would just have turned 18.
18. I like the fur coat there.
Yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
It's
Keeps
wolf.
you warm
It's
in
wolf.
Sweden. It's wolf.
It's wolf.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very metal. Wolf skin. I gotta say that's pretty metal. What do you think, Toby? Are you there? Toby's gone. He's gone. All right.
He's gone.
Well, I should have got Toby. Oh, there you go. Now, how metal is that? Come on, people.
I was muted.
Oh, there he is. There's Toby. Look at that.
Oh, you got a Samsung.
Oh, he
You got the
can't see.
Samsung.
I got the old Samson. I was 16.
And UFO,
there.
good, man.
UFO.
MSG.
And, notice the nylon windbreaker. Not denim.
Oh, it's not
leather.
denim.
Very, very original.
Fail.
And notice you can't really see the corduroy pants, rust color. That's good, though. That was very metal back in the day.
Corduroy?
And of
that
course,
must have been a California thing. That was not happening in London, I tell you.
Dude, I had to be original, man. I couldn't just do that. Wait, put it back. There you go. The tie of metal, which is now
Jonas.
in the hands of James
the
Hetfield.
tie of metal. That cannot be denied.
Which
That's
one?
right.
Tie of metal.
You can't see it. It's super blurry. It was a metal tie. It had logos of Motorhead, Saxon, Samson, Tigers of Pantang, Gillan.
And Meatloaf.
Yeah, well, Meatloaf mysteriously disappeared. I don't know how. But it had
the one
everyone.
you gave
Rush,
to James
Sabbath.
Hetfield, right?
Yeah, I gave it to James Hetfield, and he's treasured it. He's made it into a shrine because
What,
back in the
you
early
gave
days,
your jacket away?
No, I still got the jacket. I gave the tie. It was just a tie.
Oh, the tie.
Because I used to wear it back when they used to play the Woodstock, the clubs, and James would always talk about the tie, and it was the one thing Lars didn't have. So he would always bust Lars's
I wonder if we
balls.
still have it.
I gave it to James. James says it's on a shrine. He says he's got it on like a shrine in
Really?
his house. Yeah.
That's cool.
He remembered it from back in the day. Every
That
time
is
I would
great.
show up at a Metallica show, I didn't have the tie. He's like, dude, where's the tie of metal? Very
you
cool
gave it to him like
stuff.
6 years ago, right?
Yeah. Throw that
Wasn't that
picture
long
up real quick of me again there. Yeah, look at those. I remember putting this on Facebook. Notice the accept picture in the back, and some guy replied, nice bunny ears. And
Oh, yeah.
The headstock looks like I had like Playboy bunny ears. And I'm like, what?
That's funny.
Very cool. I would have included Toby's photo too if you had Toby with a fro back in the day.
Yeah,
The
I
Swedish fro.
think you should
That's scary stuff.
get the fro back.
I agree. I think you should.
I'm serious about it. You got to get it back. Yeah, I think you still got it.
So that was the thing. Jonas's hair, it just got longer and cooler, and mine just got bigger and uncooler.
But dude, there's nothing more dangerous than a white man in a fro. Seriously.
That sounds pretty scary. I
Look at
agree.
Ogie Oglethorpe. Come on. He was a badass.
Well, if you get your Neil Schon to do back, I'll do it too.
There you go. All right, that makes sense. Neil, grow that fro back. So, how much time do we have? We got some time. Oh, cool. So, you know what I want to talk about is this, going back to the Swedish metal scene, because this is inside metal. We're talking about metal, and you know, I talk about Bathory, how you guys were the godfathers of Swedish death metal, and I guess black metal when black metal first started. And then you had all these melodic metal bands. I mean, everyone knew Sweden, you know, bands like Europe and, you know, and of course TNT from Norway and Treat and Trash and
Wow.
220 Volt, very melodic kind of stuff. And then the 90s, it started getting, you know, you had our good friend Nicholas at Electric Boys. And,
Yeah, of course.
You know, Clawfinger and Skin Trade and, you know, it started getting heavier. And then all of a sudden, mid-90s, boom, it was all, you know, In Flames, you know, Emperor, all the thrash, I mean, the hardcore, you
Right.
know, death metal, black metal, and it just seemed like it just happened all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Why? What was the change? I mean, were you living in Sweden there, or what kind of caused that change from all this melodic rock to?
Man, I don't know. I
just thought it was odd. how
Yeah,
it
no,
just,
it is odd, but it's cool though. It's a small country, and there's a lot of metal coming out of it. It's
Absolutely.
great, you know. And Yngwie Malmsteen, of course.
And
you
there's
didn't
still great traditional, and I mean, you still got like the Hammerfalls and all these
Yeah.
bands doing the traditional and melodic metal, but it just
and
seemed
Yngwie,
like,
of course. It's like, you know.
absolutely,
Of
yeah.
course. You know, I don't know, man. I was kind of like into the darker stuff really early on. So,
Right.
you know, but there's a lot of good bands, especially from the early days. Yeah.
Did you see? Did like bands like Hellhammer and Destruction and Sodom and Creator? Did they play a lot in Sweden back then?
I'm
or-
sure they did, but not really. I saw a lot of those other bands like Treat and Trash and like all those bands. We always saw them live. But
Oz
Yeah.
from Finland.
And
I
Oz.
don't remember
toured
any of
with
those other
Oz, right?
bands, though. I don't remember seeing them really.
Oz, I saw Oz. Yeah, we were on the same label back
Right, oh,
then.
that's
And
right.
actually, I when we recorded Scandinavian Metal Attack, we were not supposed to be on that album, but we got some spare time when Oz were done. So I played on the Oz drummer's drums when we recorded it.
Awesome. I think we got to go into a break. Is the end of the show? What? That's
Really?
the end of the show.
That's
All
an
right,
hour?
we got to give out your.
Oh, no.
We
Did
just
come
started,
back.
man.
I
Did
know.
you
It's
do
an
the,
hour. Is that a whole
the,
hour? Wow, that is a whole hour. JonasAkerlund.com.
All right.
And what else you got? Oh, the Rammstein DVD coming out, right? Could we talk
Yeah,
about?
well,
we
no,
didn't even
it's-
talk about Lords of Chaos. I know
Lords
there's
of-
not
I
much
gotta
we
come
could
back.
talk
I
about.
gotta
We're gonna
come
have to
back.
come back when Lords of Chaos a new movie coming out about the. See, you screwed us all up. There you go. There's the Lords of Chaos.
All right. Well, that's going to be a
we,
while, but we're going to shoot it this fall. So
we got too involved in my corduroy pants and nylon metal jacket here. It happens. What could you do?
all right. Well, I promise to come back if you want me.
All the guests are going to have to come out to the Rainbow. We should shoot it next time at the Rainbow when we start
We
drinking
should.
and stuff. And
Oh, whatever. We'll just bring beer to the studio.
yeah,
right?
next week, Marty Friedman. We should go to the whiskey show, do the Rainbow dinner beforehand. And Jonas was talking about AC/DC. Toby, you up for going to AC/DC?
Oh, hell yeah.
All right,
Do it.
so
Nice.
any of you out there, come join us. Again, this is a pre-recorded show. It'll be airing the 22nd. Is that right? Oh, Little Fire in My Brain by Oz to end this up.
I think it'll be the 29th.
29th. There you go.
So remember, Oz opened for the Monsters of Rock from Stockholm. They were the first band.
Really?
Yeah. Of course. I remember
The
that.
first band on the first Monsters of Rock show in Stockholm.
There you go.
Oz.
Inside Metal Show. Can we go another hour, Jake? Or no? Jake's going, get the fuck out of here. I've been here too long already. Thanks again, Jonas Akerlund, the man, the legend.
Thank you. Thank you.
The man that met the legend.
Toby Bod, former roadie for Heavy Load. That's always going to be your title.
Now
So-
that's the claim to fame.
there you go. And of course, me, Bob Nalbandian, Inside Metal. We'll be back next week. Thanks again for tuning in as always.
Thank you.
You are watching TradioV, Radio and TV.